Hey everyone and welcome back. We're diving into the world of AI today and things are moving so fast.
It really is incredible to see the pace of development.
Absolutely. And today we're zeroing in on a company that's been making waves, DeepSeek.
Oh yeah, DeepSeek, the Chinese AI firm, they're really turning heads, especially with their commitment to open source.
Open source is a big deal and we'll definitely dig into that. But first, let's talk about their models.
Like DeepSeek V3, that really shook things up.
DeepSeek V3, that's the one. What was it about that model that made such a splash?
Well, it comes down to their architecture. It's super innovative. They call it a mixture of experts.
Mixture of experts, huh? Sounds complicated.
Not really. Think of it like a car engine.
Okay, I'm listening.
You've got all these different parts, right? Each one specialized for a specific job.
Makes sense.
DeepSeek, they took that same idea and applied it to AI, so DeepSeek V3 can handle massive amounts of data.
And do it efficiently, right?
Super efficiently, way more than other large models.
And we're talking about a model with a seriously impressive number of parameters, right? 600 billion.
You got it. 600 billion parameters. That's way bigger than, say, Llama, which has 405 billion.
So in the world of AI, size matters.
You could say that. Generally speaking, the more parameters a model has, the better it performs.
So DeepSeek, they're not just throwing hardware at the problem.
Exactly. They're thinking outside the box, coming up with clever solutions.
Like their DeepSeek R1. I mean, that one's built on top of V3, and it's all about reasoning.
That's right, R1, it goes through this really interesting training process. First, there's pre-training.
Pre-training, what's that all about?
So basically, they feed it mountains of text, and the AI, it predicts what comes next, like giving it a library card.
Letting it loose in a giant bookstore? I like that.
Right. Absorbing all this information, figuring out how language works.
Sounds like a pretty effective way to learn.
It is. And then they move on to the instruction phase.
So now it's got all this knowledge. What do they do with it?
Well, they start giving it instructions. Things like explain the history of the Roman Empire.
So it's putting all that knowledge to use.
Exactly. But DeepSeek R1, they take it even further with something called reinforcement learning.
Reinforcement learning, isn't that where it learns by, like, trial and error?
Yeah, that's the one. It gets rewarded for the right answers and penalized for wrong ones.
So it's constantly learning, getting better.
Exactly. They even have this version, DeepSeek R10. It learned reasoning all on its own.
Wait, no human feedback at all.
None. Pretty wild, right?
It really makes you think about the possibilities. And speaking of possibilities, remember that chat app example?
You mean the one where someone asks, what is one truly novel insight about humans?
That's the one. The AI's response was mind-blowing.
What struck you about it?
Well, the way it kept pushing itself, trying to come up with something really insightful.
Like it was avoiding the cliches.
Yeah, almost like it was a person thinking out loud.
It really shows just how sophisticated these models are getting. It wasn't just spitting out facts.
It was thinking critically, trying to understand.
And that's huge because it gives us a glimpse into the future, how AI might change the way we approach problems.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about DeepSeek V3 and All-1, their impressive capabilities. But they also made a big decision with these models. They decided to go open source.
Oh yeah, that was a big deal, sharing all that research, making it accessible to everyone.
What do you think about that? Especially coming from a Chinese company, it's an interesting move.
It is open source. It's got its pros and cons. On the one hand, transparency is great for the AI community.
So everyone benefits from shared knowledge.
Exactly. It's like a global brainstorming session, everyone working together to advance AI.
But on the other hand, there are concerns, right?
Of course. I mean, we are talking about a company based in China. Their values, their goals for AI, they might be different.
It's something to consider. Even Mark Zuckerberg, during a Meta earnings call, he brought it up.
Oh, yeah.
He wondered about the impact of open source on AI alignment. What if a Chinese AI becomes the global standard?
That's a big question. AI alignment, that's a whole other discussion, but it's essential.
It is. So we've got DeepSeek. They're pushing the boundaries with their technology. They're embracing open source, but they're also based in China. It adds a whole other layer to this story.
It does. AI development, it's not just about the tech anymore. It's about global influence, different values, potential risks.
We're going to have to explore all of that. But for now, let's move on to the next piece of the puzzle.
We've been talking about DeepSeek being based in China, their values, and how those might play into their AI development.
It's a big question for sure, and it ties into this whole idea of AI alignment.
Right. AI alignment, making sure these powerful AI systems, they're doing what we want them to do.
And not doing things we don't want them to do.
Exactly. We've already seen examples, where AI shows bias or generates outputs that are kind of unexpected, even harmful sometimes.
Yeah, it's a bit like giving a kid a really powerful tool without any instructions or supervision.
That's a good way to put it. The consequences can be unpredictable.
And potentially dangerous.
Exactly, and that's why, we need to have these safeguards in place for AI development and deployment.
So it's not just about making AI smart, it's about making it responsible.
Absolutely. We have to make sure these systems are designed and trained in a way that minimizes those unintended consequences.
Okay, so we've got this challenge of AI alignment, making sure it reflects our values, but then there's also the whole competitive landscape of the AI industry.
Oh, yeah, that's a fascinating dynamic.
We've talked about DeepSeek's open source approach, but you've got other big players like OpenAI and Google. They're keeping things more proprietary.
It's a real debate, open versus closed.
What do you think are the pros and cons of each approach?
Well, OpenAI, they used to be all about open source, but they've shifted, haven't they? They argue that a closed approach gives them more control,
More control over the development, the safety aspects,
right? Ensuring alignment, minimizing risks. But of course, it also limits collaboration.
so less transparency, maybe slow progress?
Possibly, but then DeepSeek, with their open approach, it fosters collaboration and transparency.
But there's also the potential for misuse.
Yeah, that's the trade-off, isn't it? More transparency, faster progress, but also greater risk.
Seems like there's no easy answer.
Nope, it really depends on the context, what the AI is being used for.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about the economic implications of AI.
All right.
Because, some experts are predicting massive job displacement.
Robots taking our jobs, it's a classic fear.
But others say AI will create new opportunities, boost productivity.
It's definitely a complex issue and one that's been debated for years.
What's your take on it?
Well, there's no doubt AI will automate certain tasks, jobs that humans are doing right now.
So some jobs will be lost.
Likely, yes. But at the same time, AI is creating new jobs in fields like AI development, data science, all these AI-related services.
So it's not just job losses. It's a shift in the job market.
Exactly. The key is adaptation, right? Investing in education, training people for those new jobs that are emerging.
Makes sense. It's like any major technological shift, there will be winners and losers, but overall society benefits.
That's the hope, right? Increased productivity, new innovations.
The challenge is managing that transition, making sure everyone has the opportunity to benefit.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so bringing it back to DeepSeek, we've talked about their open source approach, the implications, but what about DeepSeek itself as a company?
Right. What are they all about?
What are their goals? How do they fit into this larger AI landscape?
Well, DeepSeek's an interesting player. They've really shown they can innovate. Those DeepSeek V3 and R1 models are proof of that.
They've definitely made a splash, but what's driving them? Is it purely the pursuit of technological advancement, or is there something more?
It's tough to say for sure, but we can't ignore the fact that they're based in China.
And China has made AI a national priority.
Exactly. They have big ambitions to become a global leader in AI.
So geopolitics are definitely at play here.
It'd be naive to think otherwise. DeepSeek is a key player in China's AI strategy.
It adds another layer to this whole story, doesn't it? AI development, it's not just about the tech. It's about national interests, global power dynamics.
Absolutely. AI is a strategic asset, and the competition is heating up.
Okay, we've covered a lot in this deep dive. DeepSeek's technology, open source, the competitive landscape, economic implications, even geopolitics. It's a lot to take in.
It is a lot, but what are some of the key takeaways for our listeners?
Yeah, what should they be thinking about?
Well, first off, DeepSeek is a major player in the AI world. They're pushing the boundaries, and their open source approach is shaking things up.
It's definitely a story worth following.
Absolutely. But it's bigger than just DeepSeek. The whole AI landscape is changing rapidly.
And those changes, they're going to have a huge impact.
We're talking about a technological revolution, one that has the potential to transform our world in ways we can only imagine right now.
It's exciting and a little bit scary at the same time.
I agree we need to approach AI with caution, with a commitment to making sure it's used for good.
Well said. The future of AI, it's in our hands.
It is. We need to shape it wisely.
All right, before we wrap up this deep dive, let's tackle one of the biggest questions surrounding AI, the potential for it to surpass human intelligence.
The big one, right? Could AI become a threat to humanity?
It's been a staple of science fiction for decades, but is it a real concern?
It's a complex issue with no easy answers. Experts have a wide range of opinions.
So it's not just a Hollywood fantasy.
Not necessarily. We're not at the point where AI can think for itself, make its own decisions.
Not yet, anyway.
Right, but it's a possibility we have to consider.
But shouldn't we be careful about overblowing the threat? I mean, AI has the potential to solve some of our biggest problems.
Absolutely. We need to be realistic and optimistic. It's about finding that balance, acknowledging the risks, while also embracing the potential benefits.
So how do we navigate this? How do we ensure AI remains a force for good?
It's an ongoing conversation. We need strong ethical frameworks for AI development.
Guidelines to keep things on track.
Exactly. We need to ensure these systems are aligned with human values, promote transparency and accountability.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about the people behind it.
It always comes back to human choices, doesn't it? We need to use AI wisely, responsibly.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential risks, but let's not forget about the incredible possibilities AI
Oh,
holds.
yeah. AI has the potential to revolutionize so many aspects in our lives.
Healthcare, education, transportation, the list goes on.
Imagine a world where AI helps us solve climate change, develop new life-saving medicines, explore the universe in ways we never thought possible.
It's mind-blowing to think about the possibilities.
It is, and it's important to remember that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
It all comes down to how we choose to use it.
Exactly, the future of AI, it's not predetermined. It's up to us to shape it in a way that benefits humanity.
I think that's a perfect segue to the final part of our deep dive.
Sounds good?
We're going to delve into some of the more philosophical and ethical considerations surrounding AI.
The big questions.
Exactly. Questions that will challenge our assumptions and maybe even leave us with more questions than answers. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Exploring these uncharted territories.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fascinating discussion.
Okay, so we're back and ready to wrap up our AI deep dive, and this time we're getting philosophical.
Right, digging into those big questions about AI, the ones that make you really think.
Exactly. Like, if AI can create art, write poetry, even come up with insights like we saw with DeepSeek R1,
It really makes you question what it means to be creative or intelligent.
right, is it something unique to us humans, or can machines do it too? Maybe even better.
Philosophers and artists, they've been debating this for ages, but AI is changing the game.
It is. We're seeing AI create things that are genuinely new, not just copies.
Like that AI painting that sold for a fortune.
Oh yeah, I remember that everyone was arguing about whether it was really art.
Exactly. It's a debate that goes beyond art. It makes us question what it means to be human, to have consciousness.
Are those things just products of complex systems, or are they something more?
That's the million-dollar question, and AI is making us confront it head on.
It is, and it's not just about art either. Think about DeepSeek R1 and its ability to come up with those insightful answers.
It wasn't just processing information, it was thinking, reflecting, searching for meaning.
Like it was trying to understand the world around it.
And that's what makes AI so fascinating right now. We're building systems that are starting to show those qualities we associate with human intelligence.
It's pretty incredible, but also a little bit unnerving.
I get that there's this fear that AI will surpass us, make us obsolete.
Right, like what happens to humanity if AI can do everything we can do, only better?
I don't think it's about obsolescence, though. I see it more as a collaboration, a partnership.
So working together,
Exactly. AI can help us see things in new ways, solve problems we couldn't solve on our own.
like calculators, they didn't replace mathematicians.
They just freed them up to focus on the more complex stuff.
So AI could do the same for us, not just in math, but in all sorts of fields.
Exactly. It's not about humans versus machines. It's about humans and machines working together.
To achieve something greater than either could alone.
Exactly. A more optimistic and I think a more realistic view of the future.
So it comes down to us to make sure AI is used for good.
That's the key, right? Responsible ethical development.
Which brings us back to DeepSeek and their open source approach.
It's a bold move, sharing their knowledge with the world.
They're inviting everyone to be part of this AI revolution.
It's like they're saying, let's figure this out together.
And that's a powerful message. So to wrap things up, AI is here. It's evolving fast, and it's changing the world as we know it.
It's a wild ride, and we're all on it.
So stay curious, keep exploring, and let's shape the future of AI together.